The Broncos are 1-0, getting off to the fast start that they wanted to get off to. But how did they really look? And does it even really matter? They're undefeated. We're going deep. You are double dipping today. You just got off the air with Jake Plummer.
That's right.
You were sitting here driving the show.
I was.
Now you're riding shotgun. I'm curious to know what the difference is between the chairs.
Well, I can roll down the window and just look out the window and enjoy the ride here.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And so equally cool experiences.
Yeah.
You know, can I control the radio in your car? Probably not, right? You have some music you want to listen to today.
I do, but we can share. We can go every other song.
That's right.
If
I can fall asleep.
I don't want you. I won't want you to do that. So as I'm watching yesterday's Broncos game, I was having flashbacks where I was thinking, I have seen this movie over 100 times between the dates of 2016 and 2022.
Ouch.
A offense that looks disjointed and not very effective, a special teams unit that is uneven, and a defense that is great.
Yeah.
The difference between the movie yesterday and the other 100 times, the one yesterday, at least they won.
Yeah, they won it, and they found a way to win.
Right.
There's the same stuff we talked about as far as my fears about what the opening week offensively was going to look like. This wasn't a team offensively last year that was as effective as maybe a declaration of a Super Bowl window opening and a top 5 quarterback would suggest, right? But they spent this offseason bolstering their running back room. So the idea was they're going to use them.
Right.
And so I think it was a little bit disconcerting for those of us who were hoping for a more activated running game to see 16 out of the first 20 plays be passes.
Right.
And I know Sean has a reason for that today, because of RPOs and like run pass option plays that he decided to throw on because of the look or whatever it is. But that's why you just call a run, and it's just a run, and I know that for players, they want to pin their ears back and attack the defense. And the way you do that is by just calling a run that is a run, so you can fire out of your stance. You're not reading anything. You're just attacking. And then you're developing this defense that's on their heels, and then the play action passes actually work.
You can diagnose a defense far better than I can. So when they pass the ball 16 times out of 20 roughly to start the game, did you see something in the alignment with the Titans that made you think they should check into a pass, or were they just not running it?
They weren't running it. They weren't calling run plays. And the tendency these days is to go into shotgun a lot and give Bo the opportunity on those RPO, those run pass options, to read one player. If he comes, you throw it. If he stays back, you hand it off. And so there is that to it. And a lot of times these coaches want to do something that their coach, or I'm sorry, their quarterback who's just come out of college is comfortable with.
Right.
And a lot of these young quarterbacks are comfortable with RPOs because they did it in college.
Right.
It's a one-man read. And so they put that in the game plan. But if you're trying to establish the run and you have a top 5 defense, and it's looking like a top 1 defense right now, isn't it?
Yep.
And Bo maybe looked a little shaky in the preseason. Let's take it off his plate, man. Let's keep this basic. Something that Jake and I were just talking about on the Cold Tub, which hopefully you guys tune into every Monday, was the first 15 plays. We would always script it back in the day. So we had a piece of paper going into the game. We knew what our first 15 plays were, and it was always a balance. It wasn't 13 throws and 2 runs, or vice versa. It was a balance, trying to see what they're going to do on defense today. And after those first 15 plays, you figured out what it is, and you can kind of call plays going forward, knowing what their defense is going to look like. But it just was a pretty lopsided play calling.
Today's show brought to you by Landmark Lincoln and the brand new Lincoln Navigator. If you have never taken this thing for a ride, highly recommend it. You're going to sit down in the passenger seat and say, man, this is comfortable. You're going to hit the gas and say, wow, this has power. Traditionally, way in the past, when Grandpa drove a Lincoln, he wasn't getting that experience. You are getting that now. Try out. Go for a test drive. New Lincoln Navigator. Go to Landmark Lincoln. You can find them in Englewood off of Broadway. I want to get into the Knicks thing and how it ties in with Sean Payton. This was my impression of Sean Payton during yesterday's game. He portrays himself at press
I
conferences.
thought you were going to do his actual voice.
No, that's really up to you. I don't want to try and top you.
Okay.
I've been working on it at home, but I'm not ready to break it out yet.
Okay, that's fair.
He wanted to show everybody he was the smartest guy in the room. It was like Christmas morning. He got 7 new presents on offense, and he wanted to play with all of them simultaneously. As you said last week, and I couldn't agree with you more, keep it simple.
Yeah.
Remember, it is Sean Payton, not Bo Nix. It is Sean Payton who came out and said, Bo Nix is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
There is a danger when you put that stuff out there. I listened to your show on my drive in with Jake, and Jake said, I would have loved it if maybe Mike said that about me.
Yeah.
But the problem is you're putting too much expectation on a guy who's going into his second season.
Yeah.
So he wanted to show everybody, look at all these new play calls that I have. And I'm going to show you, Bo rolling right and Bo rolling left and all of my personnel packages.
Yeah.
That is number one, where he wanted to show us he was the smartest guy in the room. Number 2, I'm going to throw the challenge flag 4 times. Now, granted, he was right on 2.5 of them because one really wasn't a challenge flag because they didn't use it as a challenge flag. He was wrong on the other one. But at the end of the day, if you feel that you are always better and smarter and more right than the referee, you're going to keep throwing that thing. But eventually you're going to lose. Then we need to dive into the 4th and 8 at the end of the game, where I think most reasonable people aren't really, they're buying what Sean had to say about, listen, there could be a scoop and score. I get that. I can't remember the last time I saw a scoop and score on a punt. And don't you practice that stuff all the time?
A field goal, though.
A field goal or a punt.
Yeah.
And I understand it's great that he had faith in his defense. But let's take it back to Bo Nix for a second. Did he put too much on his plate? It's not that Sean set him up to fail. I don't know if he set him up to succeed.
Yeah, I think they're 2 separate things. The kind of the declaration about him being a top 5 quarterback, I don't mind that. I think it shows that you have confidence in your quarterback. But I think the game planning, the play calling, like you went out this offseason and got RJ Harvey, you got J.K. Dobbins. You know what happened in the playoffs. You know the reason why you lost. You know you didn't have a running game, and still you didn't use it. You talked about those play actions, the rolling right, rolling left. The play actions don't work unless you establish the run first.
Right.
And it's like, here's the analogy I would use, because I was playing one-on-one basketball with this like 11-year-old kid at 24-hour fitness one time, right? Because I was in there shooting and he was shooting.
You were beating up an 11-year-old?
Absolutely.
Well done.
I needed to.
How'd that feel for your ego?
I needed to feel good about myself.
You schooled this kid. What was he, maybe 5'4", hadn't gone through puberty yet?
He was going through it, so his voice was cracking and things like that.
Good shot, Mr. Jackson.
No. But I want to tell you about what he was doing. And it was just me and him on the court. Right. And we're playing one-on-one. The basket, I know where the basket is. It's right behind me. But he's like looking me off. He's looking to the right. He's trying to cross me over. He's doing all this stuff before he ever tries to just go to the hoop.
Right.
Your crossover isn't going to work until you go to the hoop first.
Right.
Then you have a move off of that.
Right.
If you don't attack first, then the fake attack doesn't work. You don't start with fake attacks.
Right.
You start by attacking. You start by punching.
Right.
And then once you're worried about getting punched, then I punch you and then you drop your guard.
Right.
And so when it comes to running the football and then play action off of the run, there were just so many instances where they weren't buying it. They didn't bite on it. They're that guy who's supposed to bite on the run to have Bo come out free. He was waiting on Bo. They were ready for everything they did yesterday. And so as much as Sean Payton, is considered a genius play caller and offensive mind, they didn't catch anyone by surprise yesterday, and they didn't fool anyone. And the plays that they put in that they thought were going to work didn't. And to me, it's because they didn't establish the physicality in the attack and the running game from the first play of the game.
You played wide receiver and tight end. Let's say you were a new running back on this team. Let's say, for the sake of argument, your name is J.K. Dobbins. Your name is R.J. Harvey. Are you standing on the sidelines after the first 2 or 3 series and thinking, what the fuck did they bring us in for?
Yeah. 9 carries at halftime total.
Right.
22
passes.
So there's probably some garbage cans getting kicked over and you don't want to be in that locker room.
No.
There's some very upset offensive players.
Yeah.
Because they were brought in for a reason, right? J.K. Dobbins is a veteran. He could have gone to some other teams. He came here because he saw an opportunity. And in that first half, he wasn't given that opportunity. A lot of frustration there. The silver lining to me is that Sean Payton acquiesced to that in the second half. He did start handing the ball. He did realize what was working. He did feed him. 16 carries he ended up with, RJ with 9 or whatever it was. So although he was stubborn in the first half and the first half didn't work, he did do what was working in the second half and it allowed him to ice the game. And hopefully that's gonna leave an impression on Sean. And he's gonna stand in front of his team today and say, my bad, guys. I mean, my bad relative to the play calls in the first half. Going forward, I am gonna hand you guys the ball off. We are going to attack. We are going to keep the play calls a little simpler and shrink it down. Another thing, he said that he was supposed to shorten the play calls this offseason and reduce them down to one word. Well, it still seemed to be a problem getting the plays in, getting it in and out of the huddle. And so there's an operational aspect that's a little different here. And maybe Sean Payton is having a little bit of an issue going down from the word he plays down to one word in his own operating process.
But I think it's bigger than that because he loves his personnel packages.
Yeah.
And when you bring in a new personnel package, number one, the guys already in the game aren't getting into the flow of a game because they keep coming in and out.
Yeah.
But then it also takes time.
Yeah.
It's as if Sean spent the offseason, which all coaches do, designing new plays. And he wanted to vomit all of his new ideas into game one.
Yeah. And again, not necessary. You had the better team here. You're a better team than the Titans. The Titans have a rookie quarterback, and you have the best defense on planet fucking Earth right now.
Right.
With Nik Bonitto, who had 9 pressures in that game.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And,
pretty good thing they signed him before the start of the season because
he should renegotiate his contract right now after that game.
Right now, he is the 10th highest paid edge rusher.
Yeah.
If he went in to negotiate today, he'd be 8 or 9.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He would make more money if he'd have waited a couple weeks. But incredible to have a player like that on your team.
Yeah.
Now, Cam Moore did make some nice throws that went off a guy's hands.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley just did not seem like he was ready for that moment in the fourth quarter. There was a couple seams that he was, he threaded the needle, went off his hands because he didn't want to get hit. But then that's a testament to Talanoa Hufanga's presence back there, a guy who is going to plaster you.
Right.
Calvin Ridley didn't want to take that kind of a hit. But you have that defense playing that well at home. You don't need to do the cute stuff on offense. You need to protect your young quarterback who is still having a few mechanical issues, throwing off platform, off balance, sliding when there isn't, pressure and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say lean on the run a little bit more and keep it simple. Also, Jake was talking about this earlier. Just run some quick slants, run some basic quick passes. Receivers love that.
Right.
Offensive line loves that because they protect for just a couple seconds. And the quarterback love that because it gets in and out of their hands and it's not subject to reading it, changing it. If this guy does this, you just pick a side and throw the ball.
Peyton said after the game, and he's protecting his guy, Bo Nix.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to have a weekly growth meter with Bo Nix. Now, isn't that how you evaluate a quarterback game by game?
Well, I think he's talking about with the media. He doesn't want to have to do that. And also,
but wait, is it unfair to ask the question?
I think it's not unfair, but I don't think he's able to answer it in that moment because a coach has a hard time understanding what happened in the game.
I'll tell you.
No.
Go ahead.
A coach has a hard time understanding what happened in the game right after the game because he's watching a lot of different things.
Right.
And a lot of times you go back and see the film and you see what happened and you see what a quarterback is doing and your own responsibility for some of those bad play calls.
Right.
Like, Sean Payton put him in some of those positions, right? And so Bo, maybe his performance was also related to the play calling flow and what happened in the game, and not so much just Bo making a bad play, but Bo not being in a great position to make the right play. So, yeah.
Looking at the 2 interceptions, though, Bo floated one.
Mm-hmm.
That's on him.
Okay.
And then he threw it into tight coverage as well.
Yeah.
That's on Bo as well.
Okay. Interceptions do happen, though.
And I totally get that. Listen, he was barking at, I think, Bidet for not stopping in the middle and sitting down in the zone. Was that the right? Was it Bidet that happened to?
I'm not sure.
It was one of
player talking about.
It was one of his pass catchers. I think it was Bidet. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, as he should.
Exactly.
Okay.
So interceptions aren't always on the quarterback. I understand that. How many times did Jake throw the ball to you? You ran the wrong route, and his interception level went way up because you couldn't run the right route.
Well, I would never.
I know you had great hands, but running the wrong route cost him an interception.
No, an interception was never thrown when it was thrown to me.
Never, really?
Never.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you always ran the right route.
Because the ball was never thrown to me. I think that's why. I think that, like you said, there's a lot of variables as to why a bad play happens. And it's easy for PFF, for example, to say, this was the lowest rated quarterback of the weekend. And I think they've already done a chart, like a flow chart, and Bo Nix is at the very bottom of that flow chart, right? And he's going to be, because it wasn't a great game for him, but there's context behind all of it. That ball, that first interception to Cortland, he kind of floated it up there. But also Cortland Sutton goes and gets those, right? And so ended up being a 50-50 ball, but he didn't see that DB who kind of came flashed. That second one, I thought he was going to go over the top to Troy Franklin, who was running kind of a deep corner route, and I thought he was open. I thought he could flatten him out and would have completed that. But again, first game.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't play in preseason.
Right.
And all of a sudden, here we are, live action. They're coming at you. They're hitting you.
Right.
Those are some big boys in there.
Yep.
And as good as the offensive line is for the Broncos, they're still getting pressured by professional football players on the other side who are also getting paid.
Right.
And also game plan themselves. And so Sean Payton probably thought the defense was going to be in all these certain looks that they weren't in. And all of a sudden the plays you practiced all week aren't working.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's the time you go back to the bread and butter. And that's what they did in the second half. Lean more on the run, and we're able to get the win. You
and I talked about this morning before we started the show. And I said, I know it's not fair to do this, but what I'm stating is still fact here, that you have the 50-yard run from Harvey, the 19-yard touchdown run from J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
That's 69 yards right there. And yes, they eventually got to that point by running the ball a little bit more. Clearly, you have to factor it into it. But when you look at the rushing totals, and they ran for 151 yards in that game,
yeah,
you would think, boy, that team can really run the ball.
Yeah.
Is that your analysis after this game?
That they can really run the ball?
Well, 151 yards in one game suggests this is a really good running team.
Well, no, it suggests to me that they wore them down. The Tennessee Titans defense got a little tired in the second half. I mean, they only had 9 carries in the first half.
Right.
This is a team that did not dedicate themselves to that run. And to me, how many yards would they have had if they would have had 20 carries in the first half? They probably would have had some even bigger runs. Derrick Henry is a guy who will hit you for 2 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, and then he'll pop one for 40. We're not saying that same thing about Derrick Henry, because part of the running game and the philosophy of running the football is wearing you down, is making you make those tackles. It's making you be physical. It's forcing the defense to actually have to do something violent every single play and not getting off the hook with a pass set and them, rushing the quarterback, because that's easy for these guys.
Right.
It's easy to just go upfield and try to get the quarterback. It's hard to go hat to hat with an offensive lineman who's come to attack you, and eventually you wear down and the hole opens up. And so I don't think it's necessarily fair to take away the big runs when you're talking about the effectiveness of a running game.
Well, if you did, for the sake of argument, which you can't, and I suppose you could make the case it isn't fair, but if you take away a big chunk play and then a 19-yard touchdown, they ran the ball 28 times and they averaged 2.9 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That's what they did. And yes, they chipped. Well, but yeah, they chipped away and they chipped away, but they really didn't chip away.
Well, I mean,
because they barely ran the ball well in the third quarter either. It was the fourth quarter in which they broke 2 big plays.
Yeah, and it was still a close game. It wasn't like it was garbage time.
Right.
Those were crucial moments and crucial minutes. And so I don't take anything away from them on that one. I mean, any running back who averages 4.8 yards a carry has a bunch of 1 and 2 yard carries in there. And he's got a bunch of 8 and 9 yard carries. The thing I didn't like is, to your point about the personnel group switching and stuff like that, RJ Harvey gets 8 yards or 9 yards on first down. Well, something worked there, right? And the offenses I used to be on with Mike Shanahan, it was like, all right, well, let's just keep that personnel group out there and run it again.
Right.
Run the same play with the same guys. Instead, a whole new group comes on, which allows the defense to sub a whole new group in as well and get themselves situated. And then you run a whole different concept, and it didn't work. And so why not just keep doing the thing that works?
I don't remember the exact play of this drive with the way the defense was set up. But after Harvey rips it for 50, and then you have Dobbins ripping it for 19, their next offensive series, what's the first play?
Pass.
And I'm like,
what's going on?
Didn't you just prove you can run the ball against this team finally?
But here's what's going on in Sean Payton's mind. They just saw us run it twice. They think we're going to run it They thought
out of like 70 plays.
I know. They think we're gonna run it again.
Oh.
And now's a perfect time to hit him with the keeper. No, dude, just keep doing the thing that's working.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like what Nebraska football was back in the 1970s and 80s. It's what the Packers offense was in the 1960s. We're going to keep running the same play over and over again until you can stop us.
Yeah.
And if you can't stop us, we'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Right. With that, once again, this segment is brought to you by, this show is brought to you by Landmark Lincoln and the brand new Lincoln Navigator. This thing is loaded, smooth, powerful. It's not your grandpa's Lincoln. And when you talk about great Google ratings, 4.9 star review with over 600 verified users. Their mobile pickup and video inspections make service easy and makes it affordable as well. You need to go check out Landmark Lincoln. You can find them off of Broadway in Englewood, or go to landmarklincoln.com.
You got to drive this car.
It's a great car.
Yeah, no, it is.
I would love to. I wish that they asked me.
Yeah, Lincoln, what's up?
Well, why live? Why not a good-looking guy like you doing it?
Or a good-looking guy like you, Eric.
Hardly. I have a lot of makeup on.
Well, you got an awesome coat and a nice shirt. Yeah.
Thank you.
You look great.
Yes. Thank you for the golf clap applause, which you meant so sincerely. Mike McGlinchey said after the win, thank God we have the defense that we do.
Yeah.
When you look at the team they were playing, it's a fair question, but it doesn't mean it's a fair analysis. Was this defense really that great yesterday? Or were they really that great against a quarterback who had never started an NFL game with marginal pass catchers and virtually no running game at times with Pollard? Or was that all Broncos doing it to them?
Yeah, I think there was an aspect of the inexperience of the quarterback and maybe not a top 10 offense, but they had their moments. I mean, I think Cam Ward looked pretty composed back there. He didn't get a lot of help from his guys.
Early on, he made some plays. I'm like, dude, this guy's balling. But as the game went on, it's almost as if he regressed a little bit.
Well, because he was under attack.
Right.
And his offensive line was getting worn down. I mean, Nik Bonitto with 9 pressures. I mean, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, all those guys were looking great. You know, Jaquan McMillian with a big play at the end on a corner blitz there.
Right.
This defense is playing at a super high level. Right. And I think the offense always feels bad when they don't match the energy and the effectiveness of the defense. I know we would always feel bad, like when we weren't pulling our end of the bargain, and vice versa. When a defense is giving up a bunch of big plays, they feel bad. And so that's why the team aspect of it is very important. Talanoa Hufanga wore a Bo Nix shirt into the presser. And of course, the first question that was asked about it was, hey, you're wearing a Bo Nix shirt. Do you still have confidence in the guy?
What?
Yeah. Like,
well, see, some questions from media members are dumb.
No, they are.
But I will tell you this about the Denver media. If people want to criticize me in the media for saying this, I don't give a shit. This is not a tough media market at all. There aren't a lot of guys who really ask tough questions.
Well, what would be like the right approach yesterday after the game? I mean, is it to harp on the negative, or is it to accentuate the positive? I mean, are we trying to get to the bottom of why the offense sucked, or are we celebrating the fact this was a team win in spite of a lackluster offensive performance?
I think the media sees it differently than the players do, because they work all week to prepare for this game. You know, it's been said to me many times by you and other former players, and I couldn't agree more. It is hard to win in the NFL. Yeah. That's why they call it any given Sunday. And yes, a win is a win. And in 15 weeks, no one is truly going to remember how they won this game, specifically if they are a really good team. But with what we saw in the preseason with this first team offense, it looked like a carryover.
Yeah,
it looked like Sean Payton, as we talked about at the top of the show. He had a whole bag of plays that he had been working on, and he's excited for Bo Nix to run these particular plays. And he can talk all he wants to about how he wants a running game. All coaches want a running game, but
you got to call the play.
Certain guys like to pass more than they like to run.
Yeah.
Okay. He is more of a passing type of offensive coordinator. He had Drew Brees for all of those years. So I think there is a balance, but I don't think it is unfair to say the offense didn't look good.
Yeah.
That's not an unfair statement. And I think that is a fair question. The defense looked fantastic.
But what would be the first thing that you asked about? Would it be about the thing that was bad or about the thing that was good?
That's a really,
and I think that I'll let you answer it, but I think that when sitting in that room,
yep,
it was mostly about the thing that was bad.
Right.
And that was the first kind of topic.
Here, let's talk about this show today. What did we start with? We didn't start talking about the defense.
No.
We started talking about the offense.
Yeah.
When you did your show with Jake this morning, did you start with the offense or the defense?
Well, we talked about the total team win.
What was the first, when you specifically talked about a
got
group,
the win?
I understand. But when you talked about either the offense, the defense, or the special teams, which unit did you talk about first?
I think we talked about the defense. Briefly.
That was the first thing?
I don't remember, man. That was a long time ago.
No, it wasn't. It was an hour ago. I noticed you didn't have any notes in front of you, but I did, which is a good thing, because sometimes you guys are just free-flowing it, right?
Yeah, we had a plan.
But there is a tendency through all of us to be cynical, to look at what we don't have,
but it's also
instead of what we do have. And honestly, all of us should be starting with the defense and how great they are. But I'll turn it cynical like I did earlier in the show. Look at who they played. That's not an unfair question.
No,
and it depends on how it is presented as well.
Yeah, I think it depends how it's presented. And I think that there is a tendency to lean on to the offensive side of the ball because of Sean Payton's an offensive coach. He's talked about Bo Nix. He's created this narrative around him being a top 5 quarterback, that they've added a bunch of offensive pieces. And so it is Sean Payton's team.
Yeah.
And he clearly is the offensive guy. He's the guru, right? Even though the defense is the strength of this team and has been, the offense needs to end up, pulling their weight if the Broncos are going to be a Super Bowl team.
Yep.
But Sean Payton likes the attention on the offense.
I'll tell you why I think that we will always talk about the offense first, because we talk about one specific player, and that's the quarterback.
Yeah.
That's why offense always comes up first, whether they're great or they're terrible.
Yeah.
Even unless the defense pitched a shutout. And honestly, when you look at the numbers, I mean, the Titans had 131 yards worth of penalties and 135 total yards, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you have the 6 sacks, and then you have the turnovers, then you have the quarterback pressures. But you're talking about a group. The sexy topic in any NFL city is always the quarterback. And when your quarterback doesn't play particularly well, didn't play a very good game overall, it's good to know that he was gutsy. Yes, and he fought his way through. But the truth is, you got to call it the way you see it. He really didn't have a very good game. You almost always talk about the quarterback first. Always, right?
Depends on who you are. Depends on what.
If it's a shutout against the Ravens, you're talking about the defense first.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're playing the Titans and you have a quarterback where your coach said this guy's going to be top 5 in the next 2 years, you've put a moving target on your back, Sean, and Bo's back, and that's what we're going to talk about. You said it. I didn't.
Yeah. Titans are a good defense, though. And they were a good defense last year.
They were the 2nd-ranked defense in terms of yards given up. But there is a caveat to that.
Right.
Because that defense gave up 27 points a game. Now, for all I know, they gave up a bunch of touchdowns because Will Levis
was so bad.
Will Levis turned it over at the 30.
Right.
But when you really look inside those overall numbers for the Titans last year, yards-wise, and that's how you determine who has the best defense in the league, they gave up 135 yards rushing per game last year. Why? Because they were always behind.
Yeah,
and so you could take any stat and skew it however you want to.
You can, but I think the eye test yesterday told me at least, that this is a pretty good defense. I mean,
great.
They played well. I'm not talking about the Broncos. I'm talking about the Titans defense.
Yes,
so it wasn't some slouch, right?
Well, you had Sweat and you have Simmons.
Right.
When you have those two big bodies in front, it's hard to run around those guys, and it's hard to run into those guys.
Yeah. And to me, that's why you establish the run early. You go into attack mode with your offensive line, and then the keeper game comes off of that. And then also just a quick passing game. So to me, That's a simple game plan that I would feel good about as a player, where I could cut loose and go. We're going to run the football. We're going to do some play action off of those runs, and we're going to do some quick passes. And then some things are going to open up down the field in the second half. And it just seemed like there was too much on their plate. There was some confusion and delay of game, late play calls coming in, play clock ticking down, a couple procedural things that just showed they were a little rusty.
Do you feel, as a former player, watching that game, saying what you said on Thursday, which was you don't want to put too much on the plate of the offense, it can get confusing. Not only that is what happened,
yeah,
but as a player, can you feel what those guys were feeling?
Of course. I mean, there's a frustration because when you believe you're the better team, we're better than them. We don't need all this stuff.
Right.
We just want to go fight them. If you're if you think you can beat someone's ass,
right,
you just want to go beat their ass.
Right.
You don't need all the bells and whistles here. Why are we trying to be cute when we're the more dominant team?
Right.
Let's do what we do well and just keep doing it. Let's go attack them. We believe that we're better. If you believe you're better, you don't need all that stuff. And so players throughout the course of a week can sometimes get inundated with these concepts, these ideas. These coaches, they're sleeping in their office. I came up with an idea last night at midnight when the black light was on and the lava lamp was going and there was incense in the air and candles lit.
And the shower was going too.
And then you want to install that on Friday morning,
right,
when we've actually done different stuff on Wednesday and Thursday. Now we're going to try it again. And then on Sunday, we're going to try that.
Right.
What are we doing, coach? What about the bread and the butter? That's what we are. Let's go punch them in the mouth.
But are they really a running team? That's what we've been told they want.
Well, they have a top 5 offensive line. And those guys, offensive linemen, like to attack. They don't like to catch. They don't like to pass set. You like to run block. You like to fire out of your stance and go attack the guys instead of just being a punching bag and letting them attack you.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think the offensive linemen appreciate a run first approach because it establishes them as the aggressors. And then the defense has to be on their heels. And especially if you're doing the wide zone, then you're aggressively moving and then you get them moving lateral. And then once you believe that they're going this way, then the keeper stuff opens up and Bo's on the edge by himself instead of having a guy in his face right there and he's got to dirt the ball, which happened a lot yesterday.
You know what's happening here? Where we keep shifting back to the offense instead of talking about how great the defense was. That is human nature as much as anything.
Well, we're trying to get better, right? Because the aspiration is Super Bowl.
Right.
And so did that look like a Super Bowl team to you yesterday?
No.
Right. And I think
defensively, yes.
That's ultimately going to be the conversation because Sean said it. He said this is a Super Bowl caliber team. He's been on 6. This is the 7. So everyone's looking at it through those lenses, right?
Because he said that.
No, I know.
Stuff.
I agree. I'm agreeing with you.
Point.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. But I think the rush to point out and harp on the mistakes made by the quarterback is wrongheaded because quarterbacks make mistakes.
Yep.
Turnovers do happen.
Right.
They were able to win in spite of having 4 turnovers. That's a real good sign.
Right.
Because it's not always going to be that way. Bo's not always going to have 3 turnovers like that. He's going to get it cleaned up. And in fact, last year, one of the reasons why he was such a darling is because he protected the football, and so he'll figure out a way to do that. This is basically like a preseason game. I mean, they haven't had any meaningful minutes yet, and now they have.
When you look at coaching decisions, the biggest blunder came from Callahan late in the second quarter when he decides it'd be a pretty good idea to have my rookie quarterback basically throw out of his end zone, which led to a Broncos touchdown. But just as puzzling, I'll ask you, you played a lot of special teams. Who approved having Lutz not kick it through the end zone in which we saw a 71-yard return? Is that a Payton thing or is that a Rizzi thing?
It's got to be Rizzi. I don't think Payton's micromanaging those moments as much. He's probably thinking about his offense and looking at, the.
Notice how we're getting negative in a win.
You did. I'm not.
Is it an unfair point to bring up?
About that return?
No, about that decision not to kick it out of the end zone.
I think there's like some weird. This kickoff rule has screwed things up. Okay. The kickoff sucks.
Right.
You have a weird, if it's a touchback, it's out to the 35. How much time was left here? How much time was left?
Oh, when the kickoff?
Yeah.
Oh, less than a minute.
Well, still less than a minute. You put them on the 35, you get 20, 30 yards, you're in field goal range, right?
With the way that your defense had been playing, just like how Payton felt going for it on 4th and 8, he was willing to give him better field position.
But I think you still have, I'm not as crazy upset about that. I think you still have faith in your kickoff unit that they're going to make the tackle, because there aren't a lot of big returns broken these days, because everyone's just fitting up and, kind of muddling up the hole, and there aren't a lot of big returns. And I think that you have faith in your kickoff unit that they're going to bottle them up and keep them inside the 25 there. So that was just a big return. And I need to watch it again to see who kind of, broke down there.
Yeah.
But I think the new kickoff rule has confused things when it comes to basic in-game decisions.
Okay, let's take away the kickoff rule. Let's go to the 4th and 8.
Oh, yeah.
Sean said, hey, we were worried there could be a scoop and score there. I wanted to rely on my defense. We don't really need to kick a field goal there. We will have Bo throw it up for grabs, which he completely missed Mims. I'm not blaming him for it. What'd you think of that call? What'd you think of his explanation?
I thought it was a curious call. I probably would have done some sort of special teams play, either a punt or gone for the field goal. I think Will Lutz's money, he could have made that. That's almost a chip shot, a 50, 55-yarder for a guy like him in the mile-high air. Kickers love kicking here. I mean, you break records here because it's like the ball just travels through the air there. But also, you have that much faith in your defense. So there's no way, even if we don't get this 4th down, that they're going to drive down this field, score a touchdown, and hit the 2-point conversion. The play call itself, I know Cortland Sutton was open on the other cross.
Yep.
I mean, there was a chance there. But again, this is an aggressive offensive coach who wants to put up points and wants his quarterback and his passing game to look good. And a lot of the decisions are through that filter. When it comes down to this or that, if this hand has a football in it and it's going to throw it down the field, that's going to be the hand he chooses.
If you want to keep passing it, Sean, eventually you're going to tire out your defense. That's another reason to run it. How quick are those 3 and outs going to be?
Yeah.
I mean, your first pass, now it's 2nd and 10. Are you really going to run the ball? Fine. You get 4 yards, which is a pretty good pickup.
Yeah.
Now it's 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
Are you really running it there? No. You have a better chance of a 3 and out from there.
Yeah, just controlling the clock, controlling the pace of the game, and allowing your defense to stay fresh on the sideline.
I want to make sure I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I want to go back to something that you said on Thursday. You didn't say it's no big deal if they lose, but what you said was if they lose the game on Sunday to the Titans, it won't be that big of a deal because there can be a learning experience out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
If they lost the game,
yeah.
Okay. Would you still feel the same way you do now?
Oh, no. This was best case scenario almost. You get the win and you have some stuff that didn't go well.
You got a lot of stuff to work on.
Well, offensively.
Yeah.
Your defense was great.
Yeah.
Special teams wasn't.
Right.
You gave up that big return, fumbled on the punt return. So special teams, they're going to be tight in those meetings. Tight in the offensive meetings, defense is going to be feeling pretty good. They don't have a ton to clean up there. I mean, they'll find the good coaches find coaching points or things to critique even when things go well. So Vance Joseph will find some spots where they weren't perfect that they got to clean up.
Right.
We all got some stuff to clean up. And guess what? It starts with us, say the coaches, says Sean Payton in front of the team. I hope he said that today. It starts with me. It starts with us as a coaching staff. I got to be better. We're going to get better. And then they go and look at the film. So they were able to get the win, but still have some things to improve upon and not feel great about.
There's always going to be a narrative after a win like this, in which they won ugly. Let's just call it like it is, specifically because of the offense, some miscues on special teams, some questionable coaching decisions, yada, yada, yada. Defense was nearly flawless.
Yeah.
But the narrative will be, well, the Broncos proved that they beat the teams. They beat the team that they were supposed to beat. Did you buy that? They found a way.
Well, yeah,
they were gutsy.
Why do you say it like that? Because it's true.
Well, wait a minute. But Sean called Bo gutsy, which he was gutsy, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't play scared. You can't play afraid to throw an interception. Interceptions happen. And the cool thing about this team is the defense is so good that you can feel like you can take some chances and you can go out there and play free. And if you make a mistake, guess what? Your defense is going to bail you out. They did it yesterday on multiple occasions, and they will continue to do that throughout the season. But if that Super Bowl window is going to open enough for the Broncos to dive through it, then the offense is going to have to play better, and they know that. It's the first game. It's going to improve.
Nik Bonitto, my opinion, was the best defensive player on the field just by 9 quarterback pressures alone. Yeah. But if you could give out 2 more game balls on defense, and no matter who you name and no matter who I would name, you can argue for like 6 or 7 other guys.
Yeah.
Because every guy, it felt like, was balling out there.
Yeah.
But if you could only give 2 game balls outside of Bonitto, who would they be to?
Probably Funga would be one.
Yeah.
Causing that fumble, just having a presence back there that the Broncos have missed and have needed.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, maybe Zach Allen, maybe Jonathan Cooper.
It's so funny because I do a show with Bruce Hurdle. It's called Hot Takes. He said the exact 3 guys.
Me and Bruce, man.
And I said to him, I would argue these 2 other guys, Justin Strenad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Who was terrific filling in for Greenlaw. We don't know when Greenlaw is going to be back.
Yeah.
And yes, he also brought up Surtain. They didn't even really throw at him. Nobody caught a pass in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. But I look at Surtain like Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
I just expect these things.
Yeah.
I'm not even wowed or dazzled by them anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's just expected he's going to do that.
Right.
But on the other side, Riley mossballed.
Yeah, he did. And he had that rookie quarterback or that rookie receiver, Alec Ayumanor or whatever. He's a really talented kid from Stanford who gashed Travis Hunter last year. And he had him. I mean, he made some clutch tackles. Riley did. They tested him. They went at him quite a bit, and he came up big. So Riley is an integral part of this defense. We saw what happened last year when he went down, right? It didn't look the same. So Riley played a great game. But those corners, those DBs, they can really feast when that front 7 is doing what they're doing. And Nik Bonitto is doing what he's doing.
I'm going to set the table before we eat.
Okay.
If this continues the way the Broncos are playing defense, will it be fair 5 weeks into the season if they continue to play like this, especially against the Eagles? If they play like this defensively against the Eagles, you know what we're going to be talking about, right?
85 Bears.
No, we'll be talking about the 2015
Broncos. No, I know.
Right. Will that be fair?
You gotta take it all the way to. You gotta take it the distance.
Yes, you do.
You gotta take it the distance. That would be a good start. It'd be fun to talk about it.
Right.
But to really have that conversation cemented, you gotta take it the distance.
That's gonna do it for us. He's Nate. I'm Eric. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll be right back at it for Going Deep on Thursday at 11 a.m. Make it the best possible day you can.